Hello and welcome back to my channel, and today we're taking a look at Batman Arkham Knight. And not only we're going to take a look, we're also going to compare the two launchers and the game performance, for the simple reason this game, it came out in 2015. It's been around the block. We have multiple Batman games, and since day one, I would want to say, the Batman Arkham Knight was one of the unoptimized games in a Batman franchise. Now granted, the devs actually kind of patched the game up and it was relatively fine-ish, but even nowadays, when I play this game roughly a year ago with the 3070 Ti in 4K, I did get some drops and stutters, but that was with the Epic Store, because on the Epic Store you get the whole Batman franchise for free, so obviously nothing competes with free. Now, talking about the game's requirements, the minimum GPU they want you to have is a GTX 660 with 2 GB of video memory, and the recommended GPU is a GTX 760. Now, you might argue that the requirements GPU-wise are not high, which is obviously semi-not true, because in 2015 this GTX 760 was one of the top-tier cards. And when it comes to the CPU, the minimum CPU requirements is an i5 750 or an i7 3770, which in all honesty is a 4-core 8-thread CPU, which kind of put it relatively in the same ballpark as an i5 96K, which is slightly faster, all things considered, basically just because the 96K is just newer CPU altogether. If I'm not mistaken, it was launched in 2018, and i7 3770, I think it's 14 or even 2012. Have to double check on that, but nevertheless. And the reason why I'm actually gonna do this is for three main reasons. Number one, ever since I've tried to play Breakpoint using Uplay launcher, and it actually ran way better with Steam version, that kind of gave me an idea. What if the Steam version of Batman Arkham Knight actually runs better, surprisingly enough, than the Epic Store version? Second of all, this game actually looks good, so I would like to max it out in 4K. And the third reason is I have uncapped the frame rate for it, so we're no longer limited at 90 frames. We're limited at 9,999 frames. So let's see how much the 4070 Ti can actually squeeze out of this game with no limits on it. So, I don't know, we're gonna start with Epic Store version first, and we'll see how it goes. So I'll see you there. And here we are in the Epic Launcher instance with Gotham Arkham Knight, and let's have a look at the options. So as per usual, we're going with a 4K full screen, no vertical sync. Maximum frame rate is at 9,999, which unlocks it from the previously locked to up to 90 FPS. You can actually kind of toggle between 30, 60 and up to 90. There will be a link down below in the description how you can do the same if you want. Everything else is maxed out apart from the motion blur. This game heavily uses motion blur, and honestly that is a little bit too much. And yeah, obviously NVIDIA GameWorks settings, interactive smoke, paper debris and enhanced rain. So what we're gonna do now is actually do a performance test for the PC and see what is the maximum frame rate we're gonna get in the Steam room, and we're just gonna take that as our baseline. Because, as I said, I believe there will be a difference between the Steam version and Epic, and I want to see how it goes. So let's start PC performance, and once that's finished, we're gonna jump into the main game, just glide around the city just a little bit, and then we're just gonna go straight for the Steam. And okay, so in here, as you can see, this is where the interactive smoke and fog kinda comes into the play. It follows the NPC's movement, and we got as low as 6160. I'm wondering if we're gonna drop below, because with the 3070 Ti in 4K this game was going below 60 frames, which you know, all things considered is kind of understandable, but at the same time, you know, it is 2015, so it's 9 years old. But yeah, outside of that, in 4K, to be fair, this game looks really great. It looks fantastic. Some people say this game was ahead of its time visually, but then again, it is made in Unreal Engine, so at least the eye candy is there. And performance-wise, even now, this is not pre-rendered anymore. to an extent. We're pulling 6.9 gigs of video memory, 10 gigs of RAM, and we're relatively above 60 frames, I would want to say, kind of 80-ish with some dips. So let's just see how much we get in the end there. Right, and what we have, the minimum frames are 41, maximum is 137, average 91, which is, in all honesty, good enough, I would want to say. So let's have a look at the city itself. I already skipped through the first intro mission, which is the meeting the Scarecrow in a diner. And yeah, apparently not shooting the infected citizens does not change the cutscene in the slightest. And what do we have here? Still within 6 gigs of video memory allocated, still pulling 10 gigs of RAM, and we are pretty much 120-ish frames for now. And look at this, how it all looks. I mean, this looks fantastic. And we need to get over there, so let's just glide to that location. You guys keep an eye on the frames there, just so I can focus on not crashing into some beams, but yeah, this is not bad. This is pretty nice. Okay, let's go down on a street level a little bit. See how good or bad things gonna be for us here.
Gonna change when Batman's gone. Those super freaks don't know what they're in for. Penguin, Two-Face, Riddler, Harley, all of them. Back there he is.
Obviously the notorious fight mechanics, which is left mouse hit, right mouse block, which
What's with all the rain? Suddenly Penguin don't look so stupid with that umbrella.
and that water effect splashing off from the cape. That's actually pretty good as well, to be fair. But yeah, overall, looks and feels okay-ish. I don't want to say that it feels buttery smooth. That would be kinda lying, to be fair, but all things considered, definitely not bad, definitely playable.
You know, a part of me wishes he was still alive. Joker? Man, you always was crazy. Admit it, the scores he had us working with
A
fun.
little bit of texture popping in.
Still gonna be alive at the end of the day.
But yeah, so I want to say, so far we have not dropped below 60 frames, so I think we're kinda okay-ish, all things considered. Okay, so that's the performance on the Epic launcher. So yeah, let's go and have a look at the Steam launcher and see if we see any massive improvements here. And here we are in the Steam launcher, and let's just double check everything is actually fine. I would expect so, but yeah, full screen 4K, no vertical sync, frame rate is unlocked. Now, the frame rate needs to be unlocked for each launcher or instance individually. So for Steam, obviously the game files are in a different folder, for Epic is in a different. Just a quick reminder, really, everything else is exactly the same as on the Epic. So let's go with the PC performance test and look at the first instance for the Steam and see how much frames we're going to be getting, because on the Epic we dropped as low as 60 frames, so I'm really curious how it's going to be here. So here's the start of it, and I'm kind of curious about this pan around this smoke here. And we actually went 61, so there's at least 1 frame difference. Take it as you want. Obviously, I mean, that's within margin of error, so that's inconclusive, but still, we're gonna see how it goes. And obviously, we're gonna fly around the city again, try to beat some thugs. But overall, I don't know. Games look literally identical, so perhaps this is not the case when the Steam version works better than another launcher, but yeah, in comparison to the Breakpoint, Ubisoft and Steam was day and night, so I thought maybe that's the case here as well. And yeah, to be fair, it's not too bad. Definitely above 60 frames, and that's where you want to be. And for a game that is literally notorious for having performance kinda not exactly there, or stutters and lags. And I was reading about why that might be happening, and apparently they said, well, since the devs, the Rocksteady group, actually put in the Batmobile to be driven around the city, they just created a huge open world space, like a segment that needs to be rendered all the time in real time. So that's the thing here. And what we have, minimum frames 40, maximum 136, average 91. So pretty much the same as with an Epic, so yeah. Wouldn't want to say there's a big difference. However, we are pulling slightly more RAM, but at the same time also slightly less GPU VRAM. But let's continue the story, and we're gonna be exactly on the same tower as on the Epic instance, and we're just gonna go from there. I'm kind of curious about all this. So yeah. And here's the thing, like, we're pulling 6 gigabytes of allocated video memory, 11 gigs of RAM, and I kid you not, this feels smoother. I'm not making this up. Literally, for whatever reason, this just feels so much more smoother. And considering I literally just came from the Epic, I can feel the difference. So let's see how it goes. Little wind effects on the glider stuff. You can see those little crevices kind of like fluttering in the wind. Frame-wise, we are actually pretty on point here, so I wouldn't want to say that. But we're actually doing bad. Very similar performance, if not identical, with an Epic Store version or instance when it comes to the frame rate, but the game feels just better somehow. I guess it's just more responsive. You can see there's no... It's not like the game is jittering or stuttering, but like the movement of the camera was kind of... not exactly lagging behind, but it was just not smooth. This is smooth as hell. probably heard a lot of clicking there, which is the way you need to embrace all of these things, but I don't know, I honestly, maybe this is a placebo effect, you know, like when you are waiting for a thing and you're trying to make that thing appear. No, kind of one of those, but honestly, the camera itself, it's just, all of this is just way smoother. And by way, I would want to say good 20% difference, which is massive, specifically if you're going into all the boss fights, and if you play on a harder difficulty than very easy, as I am. You will want this smoothness for your reactions and everything else what you do, specifically when you drive the Batmobile at full speed. And honestly, I believe the Batmobile segment was where I saw the biggest frame dips with the 3070, but it was dipping frames even without it. So I don't exactly think that's the actual case here.
Come down here and let me kill you.
But yeah, the GPU usage is actually less than we had before, so it's kind of, with Epic it was within 94-96%, and here we're at like 84, 89, pretty much averaging at about 82 or so. Let's go for a prolonged.
I got a taste of Scarecrow's spear gas once. I really don't want another one.
I mean, this looks so nice actually, and it feels better. I think that's the main takeaway here. It just feels better on Steam, which, as I said, take with a bucket of salt. This is just my personal opinion. I'm not saying that this is a definite answer, but frame rate wise, there is no difference. Like, I wouldn't want to say there's any difference whatsoever when it comes to it, but the way game feels, like all of this, it's just better on Steam, honestly. And I was flicking the camera up and down and around on Epic as well, and it was just not there. Everyone will probably understand what I'm talking about, when even if the frame rate shows above 60 and you're hitting 100 and the movement is not smooth, you go like, well, that's not where it should be. This is just, this is picture perfect, like the way it feels, and just, oh, nice, hella nice. So yeah, anyway, that's all I have for you guys today. Thanks for watching, and I hope this was a little bit more interesting. So I'll see you all next time. Over and out.
You still know how to make an entrance.
How's the event?